So when it comes to like meaning, when it comes to purpose, like you had said, you look at people and you say like, well, why behave um, according to certain ethical frameworks? Well, we need to exist in society with one another. We're very social beings, and in order to do that properly, like there's this concept of boundaries that we have to have, because certain kinds of behavior are acceptable and other kinds are not acceptable, and we have to have systems for how to interact with those things, and we have to have frameworks for how to make these decisions. When it comes to ethics, this I like to describe ethics as some system outside of you. So you create a system outside of you, and you use that when you need it. And to make it more specific, it's like when you're in a calm, sober state of mind, you decide what kind of person you want to be, and then you generate a list of values. Like, oh, I want to be this kind of person. I want to be this person. When life gets difficult, I want to make these kinds of decisions, and I want this. So you write, oh, this is the kind of person that I want to be. Okay. So then when I'm faced with these kinds of difficult decisions, how do I approach them? Well, I want to be this kind of person. There's my goal. So now my ethics are going to depend on that goal. Oh, my goal is this. And so if this happens, then this is how I filter it through my ethical system.
Right.
So, okay, I'm going to make these kinds of decisions. I'm going to do these kinds of things. I'm going to respond this kind of way to setbacks, to problems, to quandaries, to questions, whatever they are, challenges, whatever issue we're wrestling with. So when you're in that sober state of mind, you create this list and you make this your ethic. Okay, this is the kind of person I want to be. Then when you are facing the demon and it's like taking all of your concentration and focus and you don't know what to do, I'm talking, you can literally write out your ethics on a piece of paper and you can say, oh, this is how I'm going to respond. So let's say there's this very difficult situation that arises. You don't know how to deal with it. You're overwhelmed. Oh my goodness. Well, take out this ethical code and look at it and be like, okay, I want to be this kind of person. I want to respond these kinds of ways. Okay, I want to be competent. This is one of my values. I want to be dynamic. I want to be um, generous. I want to be kind. Okay, all right. This person is doing this and it's making it difficult for me to do these things. What would I have to do? What would have to change in this situation in order for me to be able to live out my values? And then you have your actionable item. This is where the pragmatism comes in. Oh, these things are the problem and they need to change. What are my options for changing these things? Interact with the person. What can I say? This is what you're doing. This is how it affects me. When you do X, Y, and Z, I experience it this way. It makes it difficult for me to A, B, and C. I wonder if there's a way that we can work through this. That's your first step. Easy. And that's all based off of the kind of person you want to be. And then how they respond to that will now, it's the next step. And then you get to kind of go through this process again. Oh, now, they responded in a way that was positive. Oh, they want to be respectful of my boundary. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Like, here's this. And you can work through it. Or they say, you know what? I don't see life that way. I'm not going to respect that boundary. You say, you know what? Fair enough. I get it. I can't control you. I can only tell you, how I experience what you do. And then you get to make other decisions. Like, okay, am I going to try to explain again? Or am I going to say it's not worth it? I'm just going to end that relationship. Or is there something happening where I need to report it to an authority? Like there's all of these different processes, right? But we do these things naturally. We make these kinds of choices and decisions. But a little bit ago, you were asking about when people get kind of paralyzed with decision making.
Right.
A lot of times it's because some of these things are not automated and we have too much brain clutter to kind of like go through the process like step by step. Okay, what does this mean? Sometimes we don't even know our own values. We don't know what is the highest thing, and we intuit that we feel something, but it's not articulated. And we don't know how to approach that because it's not a clear goal, so we don't know how to attack it. But if you can make it a clear goal, if you can articulate it well, then you can start prescribing specific kinds of acts and behaviors to pursuing that goal.
And what does it take for people to declutter their brain and to create an ethic that they can stick to? Is that just sitting down and writing on the paper what you think it is based on the values that you deem to be important? Or does it take something more than that? And the reason why I'm asking that, and let me give you that context because then you know what I'm getting at with this question. The reason why I'm getting that is I think there are countless examples to be given for situations where people say that they believe in a certain thing, and if something would happen that is bad, they would act in a specific way. But then when that bad thing happens or something even worse happens, that action, like for example standing up to a bully, right? Let's take that example. Most people would make the argument like, okay, you know what? If I see a person being bullied, or if I see a woman outside being harassed by a guy, or anything like if I see a little boy being picked up by a bigger boy, anything like that, right? I will do something about that. I will stop that from happening. Okay, fair. But now that woman being harassed by that guy is a big, strong, fighting kind of type, and you are not, right? Now the story changes. So then now you have that ethic, which is standing up for the person that is preyed upon. But now there's a dilemma, and the dilemma is you might get hurt yourself, and maybe that stops you from following that ethic. So the question that I'm asking you again to bring it back to the original question is, how do you know that the ethic that you're writing down on a paper when you're bringing your values forward, how do you know you believe in them?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay. So, okay, I want to unpack that a little bit. I think there's an assumption in there that if you don't act it out, that you don't believe it. Personally, I would reframe it a little bit and say, if you don't act it out, doesn't necessarily mean that you don't believe it. It just means that there's something else you also believe, and maybe even more so.
When we are talking about ethics, what do we mean exactly?
It's this interesting thing. It has to do with like a relationship with ourselves, but also with other people. Why did you do something? Well, I wanted to. Why didn't you do something? Because I didn't want to. With every choice and decision you make, you're thinking about it from the perspective of what kind of person will this decision make me? Sometimes in order to pursue what is morally correct or morally good, in fact, often, you have to